So you guys are going to be learning about surface area. So remember the difference between volume and surface area. Volume is the entire figure, so it's the outside and the inside included. Where surface area is literally the name, just the surface, just the outside. So up here, we have talked about nets before. Remember that 3D figures are just made up of a whole bunch of 2D figures put together. So what we're going to do is create the surface area formula by using the nets of the 3D figures. So first one up, we have this pyramid here. This is the one that is in your notes, but I want you guys to write this down in your notebook. So use the actual next page. You're going to write down these figures. Pause me now. And then you can actually do this. So first things first, let's look at our figure turned into our net. We have to figure out what part goes where. So this is real simple with the pyramid. We know that our base has to be this square here. So I'm going to go ahead and label this as my base. Now I have my base, but I also have the 4 triangles around. So this first one is going to be our front. The one behind it up here, this has to be the back. Let's put it up here. Then we're just trying to label just to make our work easier. Then right here we have our right side. And we have our left. Alright, now that we've labeled our figure, we need to go ahead and label the dimensions as well. Some of them are easy. We already know that our base, the length is 24, the width is 24. But when it comes to these triangles, it gets a bit tricky. Remember that a pyramid comes to a point. So even though the net is flat here, we have to remember that we don't just have a height, we have our slant height on the side. So when we're looking at this 3D figure without our net, we know that we have our height of 16. That's our height, but that is not our slant height. Remember, our slant height is going to be that height of the side that goes like this. That's on a little bit of an angle. So we need to figure out what our slant height is going to be. So you guys have already learned this. We know that our slant height, we can find it using the Pythagorean theorem. So we have one side that represents A. In this case, it's going to be 16. Then we have our other side, B. Now, if we look here, we know that this triangle that I created, it starts right here in the center and then goes to the side of the square. So if I start from the center and then go to the next side, I'm using half of my length. So that means that this side B is going to be 12. Lastly, our hypotenuse represents our slant height. So if I go back to my net, I can't even list where my height is going to be because for a 3D figure, we know it goes straight from the bottom up to the top. I can't show that using this flat figure that's 2-dimensional. So all I can do, looking at this left triangle here, you see I already have this dotted line. This represents my slant height, my C. So right now I'm just gonna put a C there just so I know exactly where my slant height goes after I calculate it. Now I can plug into Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I already said that my A is 16. My B is 12. And I need to figure out my C. In our calculators, we are going to do 16 times 16. In our calculator, 16 times 16 is 256. We should know off the top of our heads 12 times 12. 12 squared is 144 equals C squared. So we have 256 plus 144 gives us 400, which equals C squared. Remember the opposite operation of squared is finding the square root. The square root of 400 is 20. So we found that our slant height here is 20. Our C is 20. So now I can go ahead and erase that on my net. Wait for the board to act right. I can erase that on my net and go ahead and replace that with 20 centimeters. So now I have the height of my triangle. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and label all the other dimensions. This is real simple for my pyramid because I have my length of my base, which is 24 centimeters. And then I also have my width, which is 24 centimeters. But again, because this is a square, I know that all of my sides are equal. So I have this side, which is 24 centimeters. Then I also have this side, which is 24 centimeters. Remember, our purpose for doing all of this is finding the surface area. So to find the surface area of our pyramid, we have to find the individual areas of each figure we have up here. So we know that for the area of a triangle, we have the formula 1/2 our length times width. In this case, our length is 20 and our width is 24. So I'm going to multiply that. I have the area of my triangle. I have 1/2 length times width. So I'm going to do it up here. 1/2 length, 24 times my, 20 times 24. In our calculators, remember there are two ways that you can multiply by 1/2. You could times 0.5 in your calculator, or you can multiply 20 times 24 and then divide by 2. So you have 20 times 24. I like to divide by 2. I get 240. Cannot forget my units, centimeters squared. Next, for my actual square, let's go ahead and do that in green since we already have that green there. We have the area of a square. That is just length times width. So we have 24 times 24. Multiply that together, 24 times 24. We get 576 centimeters squared. Now remember, the whole purpose of this is we're trying to find the area of each figure to ultimately find the total surface area. So understanding that my base right here has an area of 576. I already know that one. And I already found the area for one of my triangles, which is 240. Now, if I wasn't a scholar, I would look and I would say, okay, I need to find the length of all of my triangles, the width of all of my triangles, find all of those areas. But realizing that we are working with a pyramid, we have one base that is a square and 4 congruent triangles. So I know that this area is the same as this area, which is the same as this area, which is the same as this area here. So now when it's time to add everything up, instead of just adding them up all together, I could do 240 times 4 because I have 4 congruent triangles. So here I'm going to do 240 times 4 because there are 4 congruent triangles here. Going to add plus the area of my base, which is a square, 576. In our calculators, remember PEMDAS, we have to do that multiplication first. So my calculator, I'm doing 240 times 4. I get 960. I'm adding 576, and you end up with 1,503.36, centimeters. Again, surface area is still area, so it is squared. So this right here is our total surface area for this pyramid. Now remember, there's a formula that goes with this. You guys haven't learned that yet, But we understand that surface area is adding up all the individual areas together. So our formula for the surface area of a pyramid, if I can get this to work, is L plus B, which is exactly what we have here. Our L represents the lateral area. So those are all of the sides that are around our base. If we had the top of a pyramid, it would be around the top of the pyramid as well. So all of our triangles that are around our base, that is our lateral area. Then we have B, which represents the area of the base. Remember, in this case, our base is a square. Did 24 times 24, that's how we got 576. So now all we did was work with this formula, but we didn't even have to know it to find that total area. Okay, next one.